Mira Business FM, where business comes to talk.
It's the Morning Drive with me, Tim Elliott. Now, next, a trend that's reshaping, it's fair to say, leadership in the UAE. Even the most powerful CEOs are beginning to realize that running a company isn't just about strategy. It's about, and it's a lot to do with personal growth and mindset. Now, Adam Zargar is the founder of UAE Coaching Life. He's an executive coach. He works with senior leaders across industries, helping them, I believe the phrase is, unlock their full potential and drive organizational success. That's how I'm going to put it. But Adam, good to have you here.
Good morning, Tim. Pleasure, and a beautiful setting.
Well, you're very welcome. At some point, the cleaner will go by the window on his little truck that we are hoping one day to broadcast from. So we're looking forward to that. Let me start with your story, first of all. How and when and why as well did you get into coaching?
Well, I arrived in Dubai in 2007, and I was a primary school teacher, taking up some leadership positions.
Right.
I did 3 years here. I've got a background in psychology. And then this mysterious thing called coaching was just coming about in the UAE. There was trainers from America coming. Okay. So I signed up for that. Open mind. I was still doing my teaching, and
were you looking for a change at the time, or were you?
There was always a part of me that said, "Look, I really enjoyed teaching. When the classroom door was shut, it was just a fantastic experience." Okay. I always thought there was more, and I really wanted to help people on an individual level in a greater way, especially around confidence.
Okay, and I suppose the teaching background didn't do you any harm, did it? The ability to kind of stand and communicate effectively, hopefully engage.
Ask the right questions.
Yeah. Okay. So you did that. So that was what, 2010, 2011?
2008, 9 is when I did the course, okay. And then I carried on teaching, and then at the end of the 3-year contract, I then thought, let me just burn the boat, take the island, and take a plunge. I was single. I thought, let me just give it a go. Everyone said you're crazy because you're, 29 at the time? Yeah. And bearing in mind that there wasn't that many coaches back then. Now everyone's a coach. But back then, there was not many. And everyone said, you're too young to do it. A lot of other people's limiting beliefs were coming through. But I just had that thing I enjoy it. I enjoy asking the questions. I enjoy helping people on a one-to-one level.
Right. You just slipped in the jargon there, and I barely noticed, but you said other people's limiting beliefs, and I thought, no, that made the point really well. But it's interesting that you did this then, because I'll lay my cards on the table with you. I'm kind of a little bit wary of a lot of people that say, I'm a life coach, I'm an executive coach. Because you're right, everybody seems to do it now. But it strikes me that you did that at a time when you thought it was the right thing to do, when it was maybe slightly more respected in some ways.
That's a good point. I think so. For me, it was a great personal journey. When I was doing the course, it wasn't necessarily to take the step into this mysterious world of coaching. It was literally to go on a personal development journey for myself. Right. And through the course, I just got really hooked. It was really exciting. It was a beautiful experience, great people, great energy. And I think energy is a big part of it. Mm. And the shifts that I went through then, I was, even as a teacher, I was a little bit shy in terms of talking in front of people and various things like that. And I was stuck in many aspects of my life. I was single back then as well. So it was a really great experience to break some of that as well. Now I'm married with 2 kids. Mm. And once I realized it was helping me, then I thought, well, this is a great avenue to help other people. And, whether it's psychology, which is my background, and teaching, it's all about helping others anyway and understanding people.
Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. Certainly in terms of background. Energy is an interesting word, I think, because if you take an event like I was watching a Tony Robbins event
I've been to one in London.
A couple of years ago, yeah. And if there's one word that would sum up a Tony Robbins event, and I find him bit of an odd character, I've got to be honest, very respected, and I get that, and people love him. But energy would be the first word I'd pick.
Yeah, it's almost peak state, getting everyone. If you think about it, he does stadiums. So he's got thousands of people closing their eyes, imagining a pain path and imagining a pleasure path, and then they're literally screaming. It's like I'll treat it like it's like a concert, but with development. It's the energy that goes through that room, the changes that people make. I imagine would be, for me, it was massive. Mm. But I think a big part of why some people don't is because you need the ongoing accountability.
Okay.
So the stadium does the trigger, and a lot of people will make the change, but there's a lot of people who just slowly slip back into maybe the rituals or the habits they were doing before.
This is not a quick fix at all, is it?
I don't think it is, but it could be that
Could
igniting,
be a catalyst.
yeah,
Right, okay.
catalyst to drive change. But
Okay.
you need to put the actions in, whether it's mindset or the actions consistently, because they compound. And I think coaching and having a coach, that's the best thing, I think, the accountability.
All right. So CEOs in the UAE turning to executive coaches is, I want to say, use the word trend. It's not. I guess it's not quite a trend, but it's certainly a thing that we are seeing more and more.
Yeah.
Why are we seeing it more and more now?
I think the stigma's gone. Before it was about people were keeping it hidden. So even clients I had at the beginning were keeping it hidden. They wouldn't ever mention it. Now it's more about high performance coaching. It's all about, okay, it's actually lonely at the top. You know, in any industry, the higher you get, it's a little bit lonely. There's no one you think you can talk to who hasn't got the judgment. So a coach is non-judgmental. Who am I to judge you? We've all got good and bad things going on in our life. I just put a mirror to you to show you what, the best qualities of yourself.
So this is not mentoring, is it? This is and I know there's a lot more to this, and I don't mean to belittle what you do in any way, but it's almost like a sounding board for somebody at the top.
That's a really good description. It's a mirror to you. It's asking you questions, and then what comes from that, especially in the silence, in the space between the notes, beautiful things come. The things that they've got hidden could be things going on in their personal life as well, right? Because if you think about it, to lead a company, you're still a person, and you still got things with your wife, you still got things with your kids, but all of the limiting beliefs that are going through you as well, all of those things holding you back, the coaching gives that private space where you just literally will say whatever you want to say without fear of what that person thinks. Yeah. I've got CEO founders who literally are afraid to do presentations, but they know they've got to do it to build their business, build their credibility, their online presence, whatever it is. But they're afraid, and that's the first time they admit it. But they know that by admitting it, they're now going to make the steps to build up.
Okay. Do you sometimes feel like you're the guy that has to teach people, whoever they are, to be honest with themselves?
Yeah, look, and it starts with myself. I have to be honest with myself always. I'm not a perfect person. None of us are. We just have to keep on working and keep being honest about where our limitations are, but where we want to go as well. And what's the courageous thing that we need to do to take the next step? So, for example, every time I get a radio or a TV interview, let's say today, first thing I want to do is say no. Instinct is I want to say no, because the old Adam, the one who's super shy growing up as a teenager, wants to come out. I just start saying yes. Now, having that coach there would obviously even push you even further.
Yeah, okay. So it's personal trainer-ish, isn't it, in a weird kind of way?
That's a great analogy, yeah, because look, you can do it yourself like anyone. You can read all the books, you listen to Tony Robbins, you can listen to podcasts, a lot of podcasts now, but it's the bit that the personal trainer comes in at the gym, that little 1 degree that they change, that accountability in between sessions, because look, a coaching session is going to be an hour every 2 weeks for myself, let's say.
Right.
So what you do in between that is far more important. The same with the gym. The food, you can't out-train, what do they say? You can't out-train the food you eat and the calories you probably maybe drink. So that's what the coach does. The coach is holding you accountable to the actions that you've said in your sessions. Not that I've said these are your actions. You've said at the end of a session, these are the 2 or 3, 4 things that I want to work on. And my job is to hold you accountable. I can't do it for you, but I can encourage and remind, and that's what I tend to do.
Okay. So what does an executive coach do for somebody who is at the top? You're leading, you're successful, you're running a corporation, loads of people rely on you, you're taking company's direction forward. It's kind of a lonely place, but you've reached this, it's an assumed pinnacle of success, I suppose. What do you do for somebody who is at that point?
That's an interesting point. There's a lot of people who don't come for problems. There's a lot of people who are already at a level of success. But success can be wealth for them. It can be, but there's many aspects, right? You've got health as another wealth. You've got what is fulfillment. You can earn all the money in your business going really, really well, but you can feel a deep unhappiness. So it could even be that you want to become more fulfilled. And what is fulfillment? Well, it's the spiritual needs. It's the growth and contribution. Are you constantly growing, or have you stagnated? Because if you're not growing, you're dying in some ways, whether it's health, whether it's business, whether it's relationship. And then contribution, okay, you've got all that wealth, you've got all that success, how are you contributing? Or how do you tell yourself that you're contributing to something with a greater purpose?
Do you, what do you do when you first meet a client? I'm interested because I don't know how you define success. I mean, I guess success is I've made a load of money, or I'm, manager of this. I'm not quite sure that that is success really, but for some people that's what it is. Do you start by defining what success is, what, I don't know, what fulfillment is? How does it start?
Yeah, I mean, I do an initial session, which is 60 minutes, and then a strength finder session, which I'll go on to a little bit later. Okay. But that first one is just a load of questions. They're set questions that I ask people just to understand where they are now, where they want to get to, and yes, break down their definitions of, it could be success, it could be fulfillment. Also understand what they think are 3 things that they are doing that are stopping them living the life that they want. Because it's very personal, right? No, not one is the same. You might get cross correlations, but there's a lot of different things that will come.
Yeah, okay. And I think that's the point, isn't it? It's
personalized.
I think for a lot of us, we kind of forget that it's our life. There are so many expectations that you should do this, you should be married by this point, you should have children, you should have a house, blah, blah, all of the standard stuff. But it's actually your life. You can do whatever you want with it. And I suppose that's a realization. I've just had a light bulb moment. Anyway,
what's a light bulb moment? Tell me.
I'm going to blame you for it. In terms of the UAE, what kinds of challenges do you see CEOs, top kind of corporate leaders, or the people you work with, what are they facing today?
Super stressed. I mean, with all the inflation and the pressures of money, yes, they always want more. Okay. And I think a lot of them also forget that, you can earn more, and you're doing it for, let's say, your kids. I'm a big believer, and I've got 2 young kids. You can sell yourself, I'm doing it for my kids, but then you're not spending the quality moments with your kids.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
You're not in that moment. You're not connecting. You're arguing with your wife, or you're distant from your wife. You've lost so a lot of it comes down to that as well. So they'll come for, let's say, the business side of it, but really they want to come and work on that as well. Okay. They want to come and have a happy or a deeper connection with their kids, or a deeper connection with their wife or husband, obviously.
Right, okay. And I guess it's compounded by the fact that we are in, I think it would be fair to call Dubai or the UAE, driven city, driven country. There is a pace here that I think outside looking in, people, kind of understand, but don't really live through. The expectations are high here.
And a lot of people are comparing themselves to the Joneses next door, right? The ones who have got these 3, whatever they are, Lamborghinis, Porsches, whatever it is, a massive house. And what are you comparing it to? You don't know whether that's on credit or not credit, but you are comparing it to other people, and then you can feel inadequate. And then where does that feeling go? Especially as a male, where does that go? Because you're meant to be the provider, and if you feel like you're not good enough because of whatever metrics you're looking at, could be outside of yourself, then who do you have to speak to? And that's a very common thing here, especially the males. They don't speak, and it's gradually getting, I would say.
It's a male thing, though, isn't it? We don't.
We hold it in.
Talk about stuff. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then we rely on something else to make us feel better.
Okay, and that can often be a slippery slope, I guess. Why would a CEO or a senior leader need external guidance? I mean, they're in most organizations, I suppose you're surrounded by, if you're the CEO, you've got the CFO, you've got the COO, you've got, armies of people in lots of organizations. But why, I'm not saying why do we need you, but you know what I mean. What's the necessity of external guidance?
As I said before, I think the big thing is the non-judgment. It's having someone who hasn't got any judgment in you or the business, to just have as a sounding board, to question your thinking as well.
No vested interest.
No vested interest. Right. And often it's good to have someone who hasn't got the qualifications of, let's say, in the business world. It's someone who's outside of that. I know a lot of people will want, someone who's in the, let's say, the corporate, the business, in that, has a background in that. But actually then they're putting their ideas in, and a really good coach should literally question, should get your definition, should get your actions, because you're the expert. It's just about bringing it out and bringing greater confidence in you.
I guess it should be a little bit uncomfortable in some ways.
At times, yeah.
Yeah, does it get?
Yeah, look, I've had tears. I've had, you can see the super stress. I like to think that when you go through uncomfort, good things happen, There's always that. I'm a big believer, nothing's good or bad. They're all maybes. It's how you deal with it, and that's important. How you deal with it can turn it into a retrospective good. Whether how you dealt with COVID, how you dealt, a disease you may have gone through, it all comes down to what you did with it, the cards you were dealt to react in the right way.
Because it's amazing what you can deal with when you're pulled out of your comfort zone. You can handle a lot more than you
The
realise.
resilience comes out, right?
Yeah.
Same with kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I love working with a few kids as well, but confidence building and getting them to take leadership positions, geared at a young age. They're sponges. But that resilience that comes out when they're uncomfortable, when they're going through challenging things, let's say even like bullying and things like that, you'd be surprised at what strength can come out of that.
Well, you'd be surprised in my generation how much we kind of think, well, bullying never did me any harm. I grew from it and all of that. And which is not the healthiest way to think. But there is an element of resilience that comes from that discomfort. I completely agree with you. I know you can't name names, and I understand that. But could you offer an example of how coaching, particular style of, thinking, I nearly said mentorship, and that would be completely wrong, but how coaching's maybe changed a leader's approach, or an example of how it may have changed decision making?
Look, a big one is a lot of leaders, as they get up, they're still trying to do the executing role. They're still trying to do everything that got them there.
Right.
And I like to get them on the strength-based. Leaders do not need to be rounded. Their teams do. So understand your natural way that you think, feel, and behave. So that's the strength finder psychometric that we'd do. It's basically understand your natural talents, the natural way you think, feel, and behave. They're innate. And they're natural to you. You do a psychometrics, about 130-something questions. Then you get your top 10, and then each of those talents, they're not strengths yet, first you're aware, they have a balcony and basement to them, like a superhero, right? The balcony is those talents used at their best can become strengths. And then you've got the basement area. If you misapply it or others see it in a different way, it can become a weakness.
Okay.
But you'll have other people in your team who have different talents and different strengths to you. So it's important you focus on what you're really good at. If you're a relationship builder, you focus on that element. If you're really good at strategic, that's what you do. But you have other people who are influencers, who are relationship building, who will do those other aspects for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. No, I get it. And I guess that's where empathy comes in, because you could be really good at some stuff, but to be a really great leader, you have to be able to take other opinions, other feelings on board, don't you?
You've got to be humble, and you've got to park aside that kind of ego or significance. And that's really important. I think too much, ego can really help you drive your business. But at some point, somewhere along the line, something in your life is going to be struggling at that point. Whether it's your health, whether it's your family, whether it's your kids, something's dropping. You can't do everything. We've all got a limited amount of time. And we have to put trust in our team. If we don't put trust in our team, what happens? They're going to leave. They're going to be disgruntled. They're going to be, you name it. So if you can say, well, this person actually is better than me at that role. Imagine what that does to that other person. They're brilliant at, woo, we call it woo in Strength Finder, winning others over. They can go in any room and they can win anyone over. And there's other people who can't do that. They're more one-on-one, they're relators. They're brilliant in a one-on-one, but you put them in a big context in front of people, they'll be like, so if that's you, if you're a relator one-on-one, get someone else who can influence on your team. Who's that person that you can put in a networking event that would literally drive everything? And then you can meet them afterwards and you can build the one-on-one relationships, which you're good at, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, so how does coaching a CEO or a leader impact company culture and performance? What examples could you offer there, where it's I guess good and bad, to be fair?
Just say it again, sorry.
How can coaching impact company culture, company performance? What's an example of that? How would that manifest itself?
It starts at the top, right? If you work on the leader, I tend to work one-on-ones. So when you work with a leader and that leader becomes more open, more honest, more strength-based, that's going to trickle down. Everything starts from the top. If you're closed as a leader and you're trying to do everything yourself, then the culture is, we're the same, right? We're private. But if you work with a leader and that person becomes, let's say, a bit more balanced in their approach, they're not working less, but they're working smarter.
Right.
And they've got rituals in place, and that's going to trickle down to the organization as well.
Is there anything here in the UAE, do you think, that makes your line of work, executive coaching, more relevant? Do you think there's perhaps more of a need because we're a slightly more conservative business culture? Do you think that adds here in the Emirates?
Look, I think the UAE is as it's grown. You've been here a lot longer than I have. People here are driven.
But it's so diverse.
They are diverse. Look, I work with a few Emiratis, not many, but I think it would be beautiful to have more of them there. That's where the stigma has to go. A lot of them think that coaching is about problems, and they think it's about almost like, let's say, seeing a psychologist talking about problems, and they're a bit about that.
Sure, I mean, lots of people are. Yeah.
Coaching isn't that. Coaching is, you can talk about certain problems, but you're not going into the story of the problem. You're going about, this is where we are, now how do we move forward?
Okay.
So that's the next step. And how do we move forward in our mindset? How do we move forward in our actions to become better individuals, to become even better?
Right.
So I would love it if more Emiratis would come, because I know the ones I have, they love coaching because they've never experienced it. And when they have, they go, wow, this is different. But there's still that stigma, they don't want to talk about it, or they don't want to maybe even give it a go.
Okay. Well, what's the perfect sort of candidate for coaching? When you meet people, what makes somebody a really good candidate where you think, no, I can really work on particular aspects here?
If I'm being honest, enough pain or pleasure. Enough pain,
really?
Point. If you have enough pain when you do the intake, they have to take action.
Okay.
They haven't got enough pain yet, or in the coaching, if you can't get them to see an even more painful path, then they're not going to move. Pain or pleasure, emotions shape people's buying, they shape people's changes. So a big part of it is emotion. How are they at working through that? If you can get them to, in the intake, get them to see the pain of what would happen if their life was to stay the same, then what would happen, you're almost fast forwarding, right?
Yeah.
It gets to that painful point, they go, now it is urgent, because you need urgency, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the point. You're going to snap. What do you mean I'm going to snap? Yeah, you could. Okay. Let's look at advice here. We need to sort of think about takeaways, I suppose, in some ways. What advice could emerging leaders, people who maybe aren't quite there yet, take from some of the principles, some of the coaching principles that you would espouse?
Understand your strengths. Don't try and be everything. Recognize that what got you to the top, don't try and change it too much. Don't try and be someone else. Be your best version of yourself, because that got you there. And then recognize that other people around you, don't hide from them. Don't try and do it all yourself. Be fearful of they might take my job. No. Go and big them up. Go and praise them. Go and understand them. Build up on their strengths. Another part would be, I'd say, build up on however you do it, build up on your social network. Inside as well as outside. A lot of people say, I don't want to be friends with people at work. Business is personal. If you're getting on with people, I don't mean faking it. If you're getting on with people in work, but outside on a personal level, they will end up doing more for you.
It's interesting that, because, we're in the studio here with Faraj, who runs the desk, and I've said things to Faraj I probably wouldn't say to most people. Not all of them particularly friendly, sometimes disparaging, because it's funny.
And we can't mention them here.
We can't use those words here. But I take your point. I think you can have friendships at work. I don't see anything wrong with that.
You'd be surprised. A lot are old school and saying we can't. I don't want to.
Yeah, okay.
But I would say build them inside of work and also outside. It doesn't have to be through networking. And let's say the more boring, I classify them as boring. For me, everyone's different. Yeah. It could be through paddle. It could be through football. It could be your passions, right? If you connect with people, and I think your network is massive here. The old saying, your network is your net worth, right? But it's not about faking your network. It's about actually doing things that you love doing and attracting people that way, right? Because and helping them before you even ask for anything. It's helping them and build that connections. And as well as I do in Dubai, how do most people get their job? It's not through a CVs, it's not through or promotions, it's actually who you know.
Yeah, no, the personal connection here is, I would argue, probably more important than most
CVs
places.
probably just go nowhere, right?
Well, we talk to a lot of recruiters, and that maybe does happen sometimes, apparently, but I couldn't possibly comment on that. let me just ask you a couple of quick questions. I've got 2 minutes left, Adam. How do you see executive coaching evolving in the UAE? Because I mean, we talked about, you've been here for a while. You're on a path here, aren't you? And you've obviously built a network. You've built a business for yourself. At that time, you've seen lots of other so-called coaches come up around you. There are a lot of people in the space. Yeah. How do you see the evolution next few years?
I think there'll be even more coaches. I think, is it the second biggest growing industry? Because
is it really?
Yeah, and the thing is, it's a low barrier, right? It's not about qualifications. It's about, you can get a coaching qualification in 10 days. You can get it in a month, whatever it is. I think there'll be more coaches, which is great for, let's say, people understanding that coaching is beneficial and things like that. Because the more you hear about it, the more you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind a coach, or I'll try this.
Yeah.
And never to be afraid of that. Because there'll be some good coaches, there'll be some, let's say, negative experiences. Everyone's got a different fit. There's enough for everyone. It's about finding your personal fit. It's, someone might hate coaching with me, but love it with someone else. There's nothing wrong with that. But the more coaches, more experience. I would say try 2 or 3 before you make a decision, and feel that comfort level. But also check what the background is. Have they got backgrounds in psychology? Have they got background in business? Have they got backgrounds in education? Because I think it's really important for credibility. It's not the be-all and end-all. I'm sure there's amazing coaches that haven't got that. But I think majority-wise, it's a big one. And how long have they been there? Yeah, you could argue that's important. But, you could have really good new coaches as well.
Yeah, for
sure.
So
just find your fit. Some people offer a free intake session. I don't, but some people will. Do 2 or 3 of them. And then find your fit. And then coaching can be expensive, but focus on the value added. What's the cost for you if your life stays the same? What's the value if it changes? In your business, your personal life, your health, you name it, whatever it is.
And if you're questioning, there's something that doesn't fit here. Maybe it's something that people should think about, I suppose. Can you see, last question, can you see a time when coaching, your line becomes like a standard thing, like part of a leadership development program in organizations? Is that something we're starting to see?
I think it already is. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I do one-to-ones, and most of mine come through even if they're a company and the company's paying for coaching, they'll still come to me because again, they still have this stigma that they feel like it will get let's say reported back, or especially the under leaders, right? It'll be reported back, and they might talk about personal, they might talk about professional, or that HR are going to make them make these certain changes. But I'm a big believer when it does get mainstream, it's got to be done the right way. It cannot be that HR says work on this person on this. It needs to be to recognize that person is individual. They carry a personal life. They carry their own beliefs. They carry their own story. They carry their own baggage. Let them work on that. And yes, their fear is that person will leave. Isn't that a good thing? Why would you want someone who doesn't want to be in the organization? Surely it's better for them to leave, otherwise it will drag the others down.
Yeah.
And as an organization, invest in understanding your team's strength. A big one. Work on it with your leader, then work it with your team, and then if you want, work on it with your leadership team and then further down. Or even get them trained to be coaches to a certain level so they can work. But again, you're then working with someone who's in the organization. So
I feel like I've been coached this morning successfully, I've got to say. Adam Zargar is an executive coach. He's the founder of UAE Coaching Life. I've really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the invite.
No, you're very welcome. It's been good to have you here. This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive. A like and or a subscribe, or both, is appreciated wherever you join us from. Get in touch. Let us know what you think as well. And everything we do is available to watch and also listen to again. Find us wherever you get your podcasts from. Just search Mira Business FM.